Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Richard Bowdler, Head of Growth at Trulience. Richard, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you, man?
You too. Awesome, Epi. Thanks. Great to be here. And
Yeah,
good to be on the show.
great to have you, and truly looking forward to this conversation. And
Mhm.
hopefully, people out there will get some great insights the work that you're doing. So, Richard, tell me about your journey before Trulience and what made you join Trulience.
Yeah, sure. So, kind of super brief context. Trulience is an interactive avatar business. We provide a face to AI, essentially. So we integrate with a number of different language models. You can kind of bring your own brain, so to speak. So plug into ChatGPT, Llama, whatever, and then with the voice AI layer in between, and we are the ultimate kind of visual front end. So real time, super low latency, about 2,000 times cheaper than our other competitors because of the way we've architected the platform. And it's kind of going crazy in the last
Wow.
6 months. But anyway, that's Trulience. We can dig more into that as we go through, but just wanted to give that
Yeah.
in case people drop off. My background has been wiggly. So I studied chemistry way back when, whatever, how long ago that is, 20, 25 years ago now, at uni. Came out of uni, didn't really know exactly what I was planning on doing with my life. Tried a bunch of different stuff. Um, did some private tutoring, and I had also gone down a rabbit hole of human memory development. So training myself up to do pretty nerdy things with memory. So and kind of slightly pointless as well, but the underlying principles kind of hold. So memorizing decks of cards and memorizing sheets of binary code and random thousands of random digits to take part in this competition called the World Memory Championships. And what actually happened was it seemed that there was quite an appetite from super wealthy parents of the kind of the sort of wealthy elite in London and globally to teach their kids this stuff. So I had this crazy couple of years of being flown around on private jets to private islands and all this kind of stuff, which is to go and tutor kids, and then it kind of evolved from there. And was running seminars and lectures, um, and I wanted to kind of take what I knew and see if I could apply technology to it. Um, and but I knew I kind of didn't really know what I was doing when it came to working in tech. So this is about 2013. I knew that I wanted to go and be in the startup ecosystem in London, and so joined an online tutoring platform, an ed tech startup, as it's called in the category, and kind of went from there. I mean, that initial startup didn't work out. Then I joined and was part of another couple. But really, I was really keen on. I wanted to be part of a sort of VC backed, high growth, high scale environment, and to learn the skills involved around all of that. So had quite a journey at it was a B2B software enterprise software business, and built teams, moved to the States, built out a team in the US, and yeah, had a chunk of success with that and loved it. I mean, it was just
I think.
crazy ride, crazy roller coaster, and yeah, learned so much, and kind of and have been at a couple of other startups since, all pretty different but really interesting. Um, one streaming stand up comedy, again as head of growth. I really like going deep in the growth sphere and the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
And then also at at a healthcare startup. And with Trulience, so I've been at Trulience for about a year and a half now, and it was a really cool opportunity that presented itself. So you think back, it's not that long ago since um, the kind of popularization of ChatGPT, the models that kind of really took off. And it was shortly after that that in one of my networks, the CEO of Trulience posted that he was looking for somebody who had an interest in education and learning, and wanted to step into AI. And we met, and I jumped at the chance.
Wow, what amazing, what amazing journey you had. How was flying those private jets and are they spoiled or they're very well disciplined? I wanted to know from you dealing with them nonstop.
uh, it's kind of crazy. I mean, in a way, the nice bit is lots of the kids that I work with were super grounded,
Amazing.
despite crazy wealth around them, or if they did have crazy wealth around them and they were less grounded, there was definitely a sense of awareness of just
Wow,
being like, "Hey, my life's crazy. I own these things and I fly on these private jets." So there was a real sense of awareness.
wow.
But flying on a private jet, I mean, the cool thing about it is you don't deal with queues. You just drive up to the plane, pretty much.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's amazing. Now, that ed tech, that education part led you to ed tech, and now with the Trulians, uh, how much of an education part you're linking the Trulians with the avatars and so on, and how far this can go, because this is amazing. I mean, when I
yeah,
look at the opportunity, it's beyond
yeah,
any imagination, right?
yeah. We're kind of seeing that. I mean, personally, like, I mean, we have some interest in the sort of classic education piece, and there's a world in which you can think about like democratizing private tutors, right? By
Mm.
kids having access to like any sort of, they could select their avatar and be tutored by whoever they want to, whether it's Einstein or a pop star or whatever.
So
Um,
they don't need to fly them in private jets, right?
they don't need the private jets, exactly. Um, my I kind of my and our direction is less focused on sort of childhood education and more looking at adult training, learning and development, where we're seeing like quite a big uptick in interest is in the coach, expert, consultant space. And what it's fascinating because, and it's in part, there's a couple of parts to it. There's in part for the coach expert. There's a how can they're thinking, how can I leverage me, right?
Mm,
So since now, with the birth of LLMs and them being widely available, it's kind of fairly easy to build custom GPTs. I mean, it's super easy, but to get them to be quite good, it's fairly easy.
mm,
And what I've spent some time doing is working with individual experts, coaches, whether they're sales trainers or financial advisors, or in a number of different spaces, taking their body of knowledge, their IP, with them in partnership, and building a kind of custom GPT backend, but with an AI clone avatar of them on the front end.
incredible.
What and it's cool because what that's doing is it's number one, it's giving them an awesome hook to the market that is really compelling. If when people see, see and then interact with, oh, this looks like this person I know, or this looks like this famous person, and they get a real sense of the kind of the conversational flow, and it's domain specific, and it behaves like them. And that's something
Amazing.
that's really cool.
Wow. Now, as the head of growth, um, there's a lot of things that goes in day to day, bringing growth, focus on what really works, and doubling down on those. What was the first, um, like a first big win or breakthrough at Trulience that you experienced? You felt it that like, okay, now this is working.
Mm-hmm. Um, it's so it's quite an interesting way of working here um, because of the early stage of the product category. We have, I mean, we're sort of beyond that now, but where we were, 6 to 9 months ago, it was very much a case of let's open up the map and explore options and opportunities. So not narrowing down on one or a small handful of use cases. Um, and that's for me, like that's not my sort of go-to way of working. My way of working is usually kind of slightly further along and narrowing in, or narrowing down far faster. But because there's so many use cases and potential, that we've kind of had things open, quite wide. The
Mm.
real, like for us, and a kind of, you look for the signal, right? Amongst, you throw the stuff against the wall and then you listen and you watch. And what came back for us, I mean, we have use cases and customers across domains, like customer service, broadly speaking, but in healthcare, in pension funds, financial services, education, and so on. Um, One signal that came back was, and this sort of has fed into, it's kind of validated how we've architected the platform,
Mm.
was when we started to get customers coming to us from a competitor. And we're like, what's going on there? Why don't you want to use this competitor? I mean, at that stage, we had similar kind of avatar creation techniques visually, both sort of CGI avatars.
Mm.
So I was like, there's comparable visual output. I mean, now we've kind of shifted way beyond that with image-based avatars, video-based avatars that are hyper realistic. Um, and it came down to cost. And the single difference that I haven't seen at all anywhere else is in how we render the avatars. So we render our avatars in the browser. So essentially, we are leveraging the end user, the end person who's interacting with the avatar, using the compute power on their machine. So distributed compute. All the other solutions render, from what I've seen so far, we maybe have a couple of years runway head start. They all render in the cloud. So what that
Mm.
means is, if let's say you have an avatar in a shopping mall as a kind of meter and greeter, there's just one instance. You're only going to have one instance and one server needed for that. So there's no real necessarily advantage with us. But as soon as you want concurrent instances, multiple users interacting with an avatar, let's say an avatar on a website or an avatar in an app, and you start hitting 10, 100, if you're rendering in the cloud, you're going to need kind of always on hundreds of servers ready to run those avatars, and that just does not scale. And the
Yeah.
but with how we have architected the platform, because we've architected it so that avatars render in the browser, we kind of have infinite affordable scalability, which is that was a real aha moment for us. And so that was a signal, and it was like, okay, let's go deeper in this. Let's look at everyone that comes into contact with our competitors, and let's start speaking to them. And the same thing has happened, and the same thing has happened again and again and again. So we really, it's validated
Yeah.
our kind of the positioning that we have in this
Mhm.
space, which is
Yeah.
awesome when you get that.
Yeah. And unless you truly, like you zoom in and try to truly understand the pain point, having a conversation like this, like over with many of those, and have that conviction that this is the direction you need to go.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and I truly believe that as soon as you clarify that you clarify the ideal customer profile, you clarify the pricing, you clarify the product market fit, faster you get to where you want to be, right? So that's
Yeah.
the
And
that's
the
how I
and the
see it.
re- and the reason that we designed the platform that way, we didn't start out like that. The
Mm,
reason that we are in this position is because of learning through painful experience. So we had a major deal fall through where we advised the client this won't scale
mm,
affordably, and it takes bold, courageous leadership to kind of take a long, hard look in the mirror. And Marek, the CEO, decided then to rebuild the platform from scratch,
wow,
and that is
bold.
a very bold and he's very calm, measured leadership style, and that's what's required when you make a decision to re-engineer the entire platform from the
Wow.
ground up. But what that has meant now is that we are in a position where we have this competitive advantage that maybe that has bought us 2 years of head start.
Wow, amazing. Now, what's your take on how much of a workforce could be augmented uh,
Mm-hmm.
by conversational avatars in the coming years? I mean, we're seeing now the real-time conversations is becoming literally like better than human beings.
Mm.
That's one. And we're seeing it's being in many different types of scenarios, from the call centers, sales to training. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not always a comfortable conversation to have, but my take on it is I gave a talk a few months ago to a room full of people working in AI, and it was, yeah, we went into product and got reasonably technical, but I started the talk with a talk on um, population graphs and looking at, you might have seen these, they're called candlestick graphs, and they kind of look like candlesticks, where you have on the y-axis different ages, and on the x-axis how fat each age is. It shows you how many people there
Mm,
are in a society, in a demographic, at that age category. And then you can take a snapshot in time. So let's say in 1900, you have a look at that, and it sort of tapers up. And then you take a snapshot from 1950, and it's sort of slightly fatter and then tapering off. And then you take a snapshot today, and it kind of looks quite fat at the top. Obviously, there's huge variance from one country to another. Certainly, Western societies, developing countries, but we're kind of entering an era, certainly in Western societies, where there's kind of aren't enough people for the people. The aging population is a real thing, and a real crisis. So, in order to care for these people, I mean, looking at care and patient triage is certainly is one area that we're working on, and I think where because there aren't enough people for the people, wherever we can leverage technology to augment and carve out roles that people may otherwise be doing, that's it's kind of it's an essential thing that will happen.
mm,
I think there's an Arthur C. Clarke quote, which is, "Wherever machines can do the jobs of humans, they inevitably will." Um, and I think that is the case and will be the case more through necessity as much as through the novelty of it. Um, there will always be a place for humans, is my view.
Yeah.
People like people need and like interacting with humans, but then there are situations where, as people, we would rather have an interaction that is discreet and not necessarily with another human, whether that's because we want to learn something and it's embarrassing being not good at it and learning it. So, to give you a couple of scenarios, one of our avatars and one of our projects, we have worked with a university in the Netherlands, working with autistic children, and they wanted to see and explore how easy it was for these autistic children to learn and interact with a non-human, but an AI, and to compare that with their levels of comfort of interacting with humans. And what they found was that even with a sort of a human-esque avatar, that was still sort of quite overwhelming for a lot of these children who are quite high on the autistic spectrum. But when we created, like we build digital humans, interactive digital humans, but also interactive characters, whether it's an off trademark Mickey Mouse or any animal or any character that someone comes to us and commissions us.
Mm.
So we built a fluffy white Samoyed dog that is really fun and has lots of engaging things, like it pants and it meows and it barks at you, and that was highly engaging for these kids to spend time with, and they kind of really came alive, and felt way more comfortable. So there, I think avatars, um, will they already have a place,
Yeah.
and I think, to your point, I think the wording is quite key. Is augmenting
Yeah.
what we do as humans, right?
Interesting. Yeah, it's really exciting times, Richard. I would love to take this conversation to a longer format in the future. Uh,
Mm.
really limited time. What does the word bold mean to you?
Oh, it's such a cool word. Um, Bold for me is acting based on gut, without without having data to inform decision making. It is being viscerally compelled to do something without concern for cause, or without concern for um, you know what the downsides might be. It is having a big bold idea and just going and doing it.
Wow, very well said. Go with the gut. That's being bold. Richard, great seeing you here. Thank you for joining me this Bold Talk series, and truly looking forward to have another great conversation. Hopefully, longer. And till next time, have a great one. Be great and be bold always.
Likewise, thanks, Epi.
Take care.